what is a shared preference? Shared preference is basically a class that helps you store multiple types of data locally on your device. So, for example, if you enter some data in a edit text and you want to retrieve that data even after you close the app, shared preferences is something that you can use for it. So I will uh, uh, demonstrate how shared preferences work using a simple example, which has two fields, basically name and phone. So what we are trying to do here is we'll save some data over here. It will be a string that we enter in these two edit texts and save it using shared preferences. So what it should do is when you close the app and reopen it, it should save the data and show it to you whenever you want it. So over here I have made a XML file, XML for our app, and it's basically just two edit texts and some buttons that help you do stuff. We'll start with so I hope you can design your own XML for whatever use you want. Over here I've done this. So we'll start with the code, I mean the Java file. So this is our main activity.java. So we'll start with declaring some variables of uh, declaring some objects of class edit text. So name and contact for the two edit text fields that we have in our XML file, and some buttons. You can name these whatever you want depending how you want to name them. Yeah, you might need to import those classes. Just press Alt Enter and it automatically imports the class. So save, delete, and we have one more button, show. So now that we have declared these objects of type edit text and button, we'll have to tell the Java file what these objects correspond to in our XML file. We do that by using the function find view by ID. So I have uh, given IDs to each of these buttons and edit texts, and those should be unique, obviously, because they are IDs, and you can name them whatever you want. We'll just link them up. Now that we have linked up all our buttons and edit text, we'll set up some on-click listeners for all of our buttons. We'll do that for all of our buttons and then populate them according to their functionality. So save dot on-click listener, new view, and it should, yeah, generate that. And we'll do the same thing for the rest of the buttons. So now that we have set up all our on-click listeners, let's uh, start with our shared preferences. So we'll first have to create a object of our class shared preferences. So this is our shared preference class, and yeah, it will automatically import the class. If it doesn't, this will turn red and you will have to just import it by pressing Alt Enter. So we'll name our shared preference anything, like whatever you can name it, whatever you want as a variable. So I'll save it as m shared. Yeah. So this is our object of class shared preference. So we'll have to initiate our shared preference object. So let's just do that. So basically I've just given my shared preference file name, my prefs, and your mode can be anything, private, public. It's for small uses, it doesn't matter really. So now another thing that we need for working with shared preferences is an editor. So what is an editor? Basically, an editor is a subclass of shared preferences, and as the name suggests, it's basically used to it has functions that help to edit the data in your shared preference. So we'll define a editor for our shared preference, sorry, so shared preference dot editor. So dot is basically a class access specifier. So basically it is just telling you that there is a subclass of shared preferences called editor. So we'll create our um, equals. So now that we have created our editor, we'll have to tell the editor what shared preference object it is supposed to edit. So that we do by saying m shared preference dot edit. So this basically tells our editor that it is supposed to edit this object of class shared preference. Basically we have now initiated our shared preference object and also created our editor for our shared preference and initialized it as well. So now let's start with let's populate our on-click listeners. So this is our on-click listener for the save button, and so in the save button, we what we want is when I click the save button, the text in that I have entered in my name field and my phone number field should be saved in my shared preference. So we can first define two strings that will uh, basically take input from our edit text, and then we'll work with our shared preference. So I've just created two strings, and we'll just get the text from the two edit texts. That we'll do using the get text to string functions, and similarly for the phone string. So this will basically take an input from name string from our name edit text and save it in this string. Now we'll save the string in our editor using our editor in our shared preference. So we do that by writing this m editor dot put. So put is basically a function that helps you save different types of objects. So if you see here, there are multiple types of objects that you can save. So boolean, float, int, long, string, and string set. So right now we are saving strings. So we'll press put string. So put string is basically a function that uh, is defined in your shared preference dot editor class. So uh, your put string needs two inputs. So basically a key and a value. So your shared preference class stores your data in name key and value pairs. So basically a key is nothing. Key can be imagined as a identifier for your data, and value is the value that you want to save corresponding to your key. So key is supposed to be entered in double quotes, and we'll name it name. You can name it anything you want according to how you want to identify it, and the value is obviously the value that we want to store, that is name string in this case. Similarly, we can put our contact or phone, whatever you can name it as you want. You just have to remember that when you do put string, you are supposed to save a data of type string, which is obvious. If I put int over here, then I'll have to save a int. The key remains key is always a string in double quotes, and you can name it whatever you want. It is just basically just a identifier. So after doing this, we have to do m editor dot commit. So what this does is it commits the changes. So when I press on my save button, it will start this set on click listener function, and then it will carry out these steps one by one. And when my m editor dot put string is this line is carried out, it will basically identify my like it will create a key and value pair, but it won't store it until I do this m editor dot commit. So when this line is called, or this when this line is carried out, it basically commits or basically applies all the changes that you have made using the editor to the shared preference file, or basically it saves whatever you have edited. Also, when you press alt enter over here, it says replace commit with apply. So you can also use apply. The only difference between commit and apply is that when you use commit, it basically returns a boolean that helps you identify if it has successfully saved the data or not. But with apply, it doesn't return any value, it just saves your data. So basically, what is the need of commit or apply? Or what is the difference between commit and apply? Commit just returns a boolean that helps you identify if you have successfully stored your data or not. However, you generally do not need that information, and thus Android Studio has introduced this um, function called apply, which doesn't return anything as it's unnecessary. So you can use both of these, it doesn't matter, it's the same thing. So this will save your data. Now we'll also populate this delete button. So what my delete button should do is it should delete whatever shared preference um, objects I have made. So that we can do using the function remove. So we do that by mEditor dot remove, and you have to specify the key that you want to remove. Specify the key for the data that you want to remove. So over here we have two key value pairs, so name contact. So we'll when we press on delete, we just want to remove this data. So that we can do by just saying mEditor dot remove, um, and the other one was contact. So this will basically remove data corresponding to your name and contact keys, and then we have to just clear our m editor. So this will basically kind of reset your editor like a blank slate. So it is blank now. There is nothing stored. It deletes everything. And then obviously you have to do m dot commit. Also, you want to clear your edit text fields, as that will be weird if you don't do that. So we'll go ahead and even do that. So name is your edit text dot set text and blank. Similarly, contact dot set text blank. So this will clear out your shared preference data. Also, if you delete or remove the data from your edit text manually using your keyboard, you can also use uh, another function called get that helps you get back your data that is stored in your shared preference. So we'll go ahead and populate the show set on click listener. You can do that with your get string function is in your shared preference class. So my shared preference dot get string. As usual, you are supposed to write key that the key of the data that you want to retrieve. And there is also one more thing that is the default value. So we'll just set it to null. So we'll do the same thing for our phone string. Yeah, and now we'll set the text in our edit text to the values of these. So basically you want to show what you have stored. So we'll do that by name dot set text and name string, and similarly contact dot set text to phone string. So this will basically display your data stored that you have stored. So get string basically takes two variables, and that is your key, and def value is basically default value. So that is basically if it is not able to find your key, uh, then in that case it will just return a default value that can be anything. Yeah. So one more thing that you can do here is add a toast. So so that we know that the on click listener has worked. So similar way you can give a toast for deletion. So yeah, that is all. Let's try and run our app. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and save some data, some string, and say save. So data saved successfully. Now let's go ahead and close our activity, close our app, and run it again. So now it should have saved our data. And now if we say show, it should display the data that we saved earlier. And if I say delete, so data deleted successfully, and now if I say show, it won't show anything. So this is how shared preferences work, and you can see the data being stored in another way. We go ahead in the app info and um, see storage. So we'll clear storage for now. So the app size here is 1.53 MB. So if I go ahead and store some data now, it should display it in the storage. So let's go ahead and open our app and let's input some string and some data. Yeah, and now if I say save and go back and check my app info, so you will see that the data, I mean the total size has increased. It has some cache, it has some user data. So this is because of the data that you have saved. So if I go ahead and clear storage now and try and retrieve that data, it won't get the data back. So if I say store show now, it won't show anything because I have deleted the data. So yeah, this is how shared preferences work. And a good use case would be something like an app where you want to display a screen or an activity just when you have opened the app the first time, and it should not display the activity the next time. So you can use shared preferences in this case, and you using a simple flag, you can just decide whether to show the first activity or the next activity. So I have extended this app that we have made right now to show what I'm saying. So let me just go ahead and make the changes. Yeah, so this could be a test case where I save some string and uh, then say save. So now it has saved the data, and we just wanted to display the first activity on our first use of the app. So now if I close the app and go open it again, it will directly show you the second activity and won't show the initialization activity, so to say. So this could be a use for shared preferences, or it could also be used to save small uh, amount of data. So yeah, this is what how shared preferences work. Thank you.